very different. One of the directors of research at Google Technology, Ray Kurzweil is his name. He's a futurist. He's a visionary. He's been around for a very long time. And I'm just going to share his perspective, and it's not out of disrespect for Ray Kurzweil because he's a technologist. So he's just looking at the technology and what's possible. And what he says is by the year 2030, 2035, we will no longer be pure human. He said, when you talk to another human, we'll be talking and we will become some degree of hybrid between external technology, artificial technology, and natural biology. And he believes this is moving toward what he calls the singularity. The singularity is where we become, the technology that we have embraced within our bodies becomes so dominant that we now are part of the internet of all things, that we are surveilled, we are tracked, our vitals are traced, AI is determining our lifestyles, what we can eat, what we can purchase, how we travel, where we travel, all of that. He says between 2035, 2045 is when he expects what he calls this singularity to occur, where that used to be an interesting scientific concept until political powers began to propose now the policies that are actually implementing these very things. So we've seen this since the year 2019, right before the pandemic, when the World Economic Forum, the unelected officials of the think tank that has been around since 1971, they've always gotten together once a year and, they sit back and talk about what they think the world should be. And I have no problem with that at all. What happened in 2019 is that they signed a formal agreement with the United Nations. And the UN has a program called SDG 2030, Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. 17 goals they want to implement by the year 2030 that they believe make for a better world. These are unelected officials. You and I have no say, and what they're proposing changes every facet of our lives, typically in a way that is about contraction and loss of freedom rather than expansion and the gaining of freedom of expression of life. So the UN has been trying to implement these policies, and they've had a slow start. They're not where they would like to be because they're not popular. The World Economic Forum has had these ideas. They don't know how to give them traction. They signed a formal agreement in 2019 for the UN to use the Sustainable Development Goals as the implementation arm of many of the World Economic Forum ideas because they are so closely aligned. And all of a sudden, those abstract ideas that sound like a dystopian scientific future from a really bad movie are now showing up for votes on at the United Nations. They're being proposed to the United States Congress through different forms of legislation, state and federal levels. And I think we need to be aware of these things. It all comes down to this conversation that we're talking about our humanness. Do these ideas, do they give us freedom of imagination, creativity, and expansion of life and health and healing in the body? Or do they want to control, contract, confine, and limit our expression of all of those things? And when we begin to see the answer to that, we can see the thinking and where this is going.